Awesome. As we were just saying, it's fun to see you again.
Twice.
I've been looking forward to seeing this for years. Different casts, but the idea of what you were gonna do, kind of like left to your own devices, right? Because I it's such a fascinating thing when you go, I have no idea what someone's gonna do next, but I'm interested. Because so many times you are interested in what someone does because of what you like about them, right? There's something about I have just enough information about Duke to go. I think the next thing he can do could be anything. So when I found out what it was, and I looked up the book, and just every little bit of the process, as stressful as I'm sure it was for you, people were interested. So to get to finally see it felt like scratching an itch in a way. It was oddly satisfying. Try
Cool.
imagine somewhere for you and finishing it eventually and getting to how weird is it to talk about it? It's been such a long process.
Yeah, it is weird to talk about it. Thanks for acknowledging that. Yeah, it has been a long process, and it is weird for it to be, it's weird when you make these things, at least for me, and the types of things I make and the way that I make things. There, you sort of make it in a bubble, and then there's a time, and I have no idea. Like I have no idea if these things are going to be if they're going to translate or if they're going to be well received or not. And it's that's a terrifying kind of prospect, but you have to sort of divorce yourself of that in order to be able to do it. And then you present it to the world and say, judge me.
Yeah,
You know, it's
up or down.
it's
Like there's only one
yeah,
answer.
yeah, it's satisfying and terrifying at the same time.
Well, it's funny when I was talking to your cast earlier, the idea of you know you having such a specific vision is comforting to an actor. We were mentioning how it's actually bad for an actor when a director's like, whatever. Like, no, I'm here. Like, I don't want you to tell me exactly what to do, but I don't want you to give me nothing. I think you having such a specific vision, left to an actor's own devices, I think this would be an overwhelming project, right? Because what is it? How would you like me to do it? But when you have such a specific vision, I think you kind of unleash them to have a specific vision and to tackle it in a way that makes it unique and makes it singular. It kind of feels like everyone's putting on a show.
Yeah, yeah.
They yeah.
Is that a question? Do you want me to elaborate on that or? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, it's interesting, I've heard filmmakers talk like, I watch YouTube and listen to other filmmakers because I'm always like, how do you do this thing? And then you often hear them say like, well, your job is to sort of like create a space for the actors to work within. And I'm like, what does that mean? It's like, what does it mean to create a space? Like, make sure it's warm and there's like good craft service. Like, I don't really know what that means. But I think that in the case of this film, I was very lucky because we I was very ambitious in sort of the world building stuff that I wanted to do, and we didn't have enough money to do that. So we ended up in this little warehouse in Budapest where I built this city, and it was this world in the real world that did only existed for this purpose and didn't exist anywhere else. And then I had this small troupe of actors, and we were just all together in this world, kind of figuring this thing out together. So it had its own feeling, it had its own vibe, and we were able to live within that and kind of react to it in real time, which was a cool thing.
Well, it is a vibes movie, but also, yeah, they were talking about how it's tactile, like so much of it is practical. That is incredibly helpful, and you hear that from actors, on all levels. I was talking to Willem Dafoe about, I think, Poor Things at the time, and he's talking about, I could walk down a corner in this thing that like doesn't look real when you see it in a movie, but he's like how helpful that was, and it is true. Like so much of it is you creating a space, right? And there's a picture in your head, and it's only in your head. Everyone else has a different one, so it's never going to be the same one. You just have to figure out a way to explain what's in your head based on how other people are going to do it, which is kind of overwhelming. But ironically, the best example I ever heard is Kevin Smith like really simplifying. He's like, "This is the idiot's version, but my job is to go, yes, blue, seven of them. There's a million people I've hired who are good at their job. I'm not, but I tell them what I want, and then they make it happen. And there's
Yeah,
something you can have a picture in your head and go, I imagine this, get this, and go, we can't really do that, but we can do a version. And suddenly it looks like you have, the most interactive Broadway show, off Broadway show you've ever seen.
Hmm.
Like the elegance of simplicity, I think, was your friend here in the end.
Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. Yeah, I've often or I've also heard it described as like a conductor or something, because you're always like, what does that guy with the stick do? Like
Yeah.
he's not a musician. Does he have any talent at all? Like, what is that? But it's like he's more trumpet, less viola or whatever, keeping them on beat, keeping them in the course, keeping them going, and that because it's really just like, yeah, you have a community of talented artists helping you achieve this vision that, as you said, is only really in my head, and my job is to kind of is to try to relate
Oh, yeah.
that to them, but also only as much as because they can get overwhelmed too. Here's why I'm doing it. Here's what I'm doing. I found that less is more in that sense as well, where it's sort of like, here's where you are right now. Here's what's happening right now is enough because they need to just also kind of be present, be free to be completely present in the moment that they're in.
It's sort of like you need to know when they're gone too far in one direction, right? If they like the joke I made then was you've come and go, Andre goes, I think I'm a vampire. Like, well, okay, but that's a little more than what we're doing, but within reason. Okay, you've added a layer, and that's maybe something no one will see, and I'm not going to know, but that's how you get to where I need you to be. That's wonderful, and vice versa. Like there are things I'm sure actors will say that'll spark you to go, oh, well, if I can just turn the camera a little bit, and suddenly there's a whole other thing because, like we said, it is 100 people making 100 different little movies, and then
Yeah,
magically
yeah.
times they're good. It's insane that.
Yeah, yeah, and there is sort of there is an energy, there is a flow where what he's doing is informing what I'm doing, or what the cast is doing is informing what I'm doing, and what I'm doing is informing what they're doing. And Andre in particular too, he was incredible to work with, and he always did everything I asked him to do. And also he didn't need me like he said at some point, like, I don't need to know what my motivation is, like he has his own internal process of how he gets there. It's about the emotional targets that we're trying to achieve, and I hope that there was some sense of trust that I was modulating that, or aware of some sort of arc throughout, that would allow them to kind of have the freedom to go for whatever it is they were going for.
And there's tools like there is source material. It's not exactly the same, but it's there. And then there's a screenplay, and like most likely they've signed on because they like what they read, and you've made it clear enough what your intent is. So it's
For
never
the money, I can tell you that.
true. There was not gold at the end of the rainbow, but there's something that goes, I want to commit time and energy to this, and I think I have a handle, and that's how it starts because it is honestly. You read a script for a smaller film, and sometimes they are complicated. They are asking a lot of a reader, even beyond even an actor. But there's something there, and I think that's way easier to work with than you can read a script for a giant blockbuster, and you go, okay, I like this. There's no way it's going to be what I end up making when I get there, so I don't know that it matters that I like it right now. There's something about like, okay, Duke wrote this. It's only going to change based on necessity. It's not going to change based on, well, we really need to add, like, listen, I love a Bond movie, but they go, well, we're shooting in Cambodia, so you better figure out a way to get us to Cambodia. You don't have that problem. So you're lucky in that sense, but there's something about, we have a world, inhabit the world, and I'll guide you through the world. There's a trust there. And I think, you have such a specific worldview that it's very easy to take that leap of faith. And then also, people who are easy to work with want to work with people who are easy to work with. So it lends for a vibe where I think you can figure it out without feeling overly stressed. The normal stress of there's money here that I'm spending in my fantasy that I want people to go pay money to see at the end of the day. But they do it. It worked out. It's it's kind of crazy. But like, what is it like to kind of be on the other side? Because like you're never fully done. It's something that was part of your life, but people have seen it. For a long time, people hadn't seen it. You're
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
you're not tinkering with it anymore. Even when you
yeah,
finish talking about it while you're editing, while you're thinking about what could change, it's gone. It's out in the world. You can't change it. I've seen it. You're stuck.
yeah,
So like,
yeah.
it doesn't
Brush
feel
it down. Yeah, it feels surreal and it's satisfying, but it's scary. You know, I understand why, some actors, famously like don't watch the things that they've done. I haven't seen Anomalisa. I looked at some clips from Anomalisa recently because I'm working on something else and I reference it a lot. And then in the because I'm working in another animated project and I'm referencing it like verbally, and then I'm like, it was so long ago. I wonder if I'm like making this up. Like, is this true what I'm saying? I have to go back and look at it. But otherwise, I wouldn't watch it because it's almost like you purge yourself of everything. You give everything you have into this thing, and then you kind of have to just let it go. And it can be almost painful to revisit it because it's never exactly as it was in your mind, or it's its own thing. It has its own destiny, and it's an accumulation of your ambitions and your failures and your everything you set out to do, and now it's not mine anymore. It's the world's, and they're gonna take it, and it has its own life with them, and I have to just kind of put my head down and move on to the next thing.
Vouch for it still being wonderful, if that helps. But there is something about that because it's years, no matter what, it's years. If everything went amazing on a project, that was months of my life. It came out sometimes a year later. I'm talking about it months later. Like it is just you were a different person then.
Oh yeah.
And also, just like everyone's experience is going to be different, right? I'm sure you've had people come up and tell you like how much this movie mean, and they'll say something like, "That's not what I intended at all. It's not the movie I made." But like I love that that works for you. I'll take credit. Like there's a shared experience, and I think sometimes even just the fakeness of making things because you're simulating emotions, right? You're simulating a feeling. You want someone to have a feeling, right? What's for dinner is the worst reaction to seeing a movie. You'd much rather them hate the movie, right? But like even just knowing that if it's shot on the location, right, that someone walked on that location has a feeling there. Like I live where Anora was shot, so Sean
Mm.
was excited to be like, did you see everywhere that we faked? Like the camera's not actually, that's not the part of Coneon we shot in.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
just
yeah.
that's not what he was thinking about when he was making it. But suddenly he's going, someone else's experience is knowing all the little cheats that we made in making the movie. Did it still work? Like it is such a communal shared experience. Like I don't know how anyone ever talks about it later. Like the idea of thinking back in the past tense, because it has to just be your entire life for a period of time. So the fact that you can sit here and do this is stunning, frankly.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I they made me do it, but
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Notably, everyone says this is the best part of making a movie when you have to talk about it afterwards and hear idiots talk
Well,
about.
take this thing that's inherently nonverbal and put it into words.
Yeah, exactly. It's like as like you then have to figure out, well, did they actually like it or are they being nice? Like,
Yeah. Well, at least they're being nice. Thank God. I haven't had anybody be like, "I hate this. Why did you do it?"
that
Which
would be, one off would be fun. One person doing that, I think you'd be like, this is different. I'll try this. But a
I'd
way
just be, I'm sorry. I did my best. How can you fault me? I'm just trying my best.
at least if they, if it's real life and they bought a ticket, you're like, well, got your money. So that's a fair trade. Allowed to tell me you didn't like it, you paid. If we did it, it's a little mean. But no, I honestly, as we wrap up, I can't wait to see what's next because I think anything is possible. And I think there's only you, I don't think you're capable of making a movie not your way. So that's exciting that there's just, I don't have to worry about waiting and going, oh, that's the movie he made for someone else. They don't happen unless you want to do it for yourself. So they're worth the wait, much as it's a long wait. I am very excited to see what's next, and very very pleased to see this is still an easy and fun conversation even years later.
Oh, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it. That means a lot. Thank you.
Likewise, you should enjoy this. It's weird, but enjoy it, and then make the next one a little faster.
Okay. All right. Will do. I'll do my best. Thanks,
Pleasure.
man.
Take care.
All right.
Awesome.
Likewise. Bye-bye.